Yep, that's going on here in the United States of America. Better believe it. Well, maybe that's not the United States of America. Actually, the more I look at it, that's not. It looks like there's European plates or something like that going on instead. Those vehicles are passing by. But either way, it definitely shows the absolute madness of the pro-Palestinian side of the house. And boy, oh boy, are we going to get into it today. Excuse me. Welcome back to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I got a feeling that Donald Trump and President Sisi over inside Egypt and the Pakistani president and everybody else was celebrating over inside of Egypt yesterday, saying, thank God Trump has now stopped 8 wars. He's the president of peace. Let's nominate this man for a Nobel Peace Prize for all of his great work. Well, big surprise. Doesn't look like Hamas is actually going to go through with the entire peace deal. We're going to be talking about that today. They're basically not abiding by the terms. They're refusing to disarm. The bodies that they're turning over are not in the quantity, location, time, all of those things that they're supposed to be doing. We did get all of the alive hostages back, but we're going to talk about all of those little fine details and minutia. We're also going to go over who the hell is actually controlling the Gaza Strip, because right now it's not under control really of anybody. There's certain areas that are control of other people. Hamas is clearly clinging to power, refusing to disarm. So if your vote was, is this ceasefire deal actually going to last? I hope you chose no, because you would have been correct. Oh my Lord. It got so bad that Trump actually literally threatened to go in there and disarm Hamas ourselves. And looking across Gaza, there's just mass executions that have taken place over the last 48 hours. Over 50 people have been executed by Hamas over inside of Gaza. Can't make this crap up. Over 50 people have been executed by Hamas inside of Gaza. And you'll never guess for what. They've all been accused of being Israeli spies. And they're murdering them. I've got a video here that I can't play. I might let you listen to the sound, but I can't show you people's heads getting blown off on YouTube. Just doesn't work that way. Even if I make it 18 plus, it's still like restricted content. I'm fairly certain. I'm not allowed to show that stuff. But 52 is the latest number, allegedly, that they have killed so far. Then there's this. 4 bodies said to be of unnamed hostages are released and taken to Israeli Forensic Institute. Hamas turned over bodies. They have no idea who they are. And you better believe I've got a video showing how they treated those bodies upon transfer. If you guys remember months and months ago, the very first time that they were doing this crap, and they did the initial hostage / body transfer, you know, where they said that they were turning over like the Beavis mother, but they didn't. They actually turned over something else. Well, it sure wasn't the person they said they were turning over. Well, now they're just basically pulling bodies out the back of SUVs and putting them on the ground for the Red Cross or the IDF to pick up and haul back over into Israel. Their entire narrative is falling apart. If you guys remember that big display where they were put in caskets and decorated with all sorts of ridiculous stuff, which wasn't okay in the first place for them to do. Well, now it's completely and totally different. This is how they actually treated the bodies. This is how they were actually delivered this time. And you can tell just by what I'm putting up on the screen here, they didn't want this captured. This is clearly somebody inside Gaza that was inside of a house behind some structure on the other side of the street that took this video in order to leak it out for your viewing pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you body transfer by Hamas.
الصور الخاصة التي حصلت عليها الجزيرة قبل قليل جثامين الأسرى الأربعة أثناء تسليمها للصليب الأحمر في
Oh, you'll have to excuse me. It's an Al Jazeera exclusive. Of course, Al Jazeera has journalists inside of Gaza. My bad, forgot.
في مدينة غزة. إذن باستطاعتنا أن نشاهد هذه الصور الخاصة لقناة الجزيرة للجثامين الأربعة التي جرى تسليمها للصليب الأحمر الدولي قبل قليل إلى مدينة غزة. وكما ذكر الجيش
I don't think there's any point in listening to her speak squiggly because I don't speak squiggly and I couldn't tell you exactly what they're saying. I'm pretty sure everybody inside the chat doesn't speak squiggly either. I'm actually tempted to run a poll and see how many of you guys actually speak squiggly. I don't think anybody in this chat likely does. However, I want you guys to take a look at this footage versus what we saw the last time. These are random bodies. They have no idea who they are. They could have been badly tortured, poorly executed, extremely decayed. They have no idea what they got. And it got so bad, right, with Hamas coming out with a public statement refusing to disarm. And you're going to hear it here in just a little bit, that Trump actually came out and made a statement saying that we are going to disarm them if they don't disarm themselves and actually abide by. So they are not, make no mistake about it. Yes, they released bodies, they released hostages, but they are not abiding by the terms of the ceasefire agreement. I can't make that clear enough. They're supposed to be disarmed and disarming. And as you can see here in this video, they're clearly not doing that. And in the public execution stuff, which unfortunately you're about to see here in a minute, you're going to also see that they're not disarmed because they're blowing people's heads off. They're also beating the brakes off of them, beating them unconscious, doing all sorts of ridiculous things over inside of Gaza. Like, Sharia hasn't gone anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. They're still murdering people left and right inside Gaza. And the mainstream media is pretty much silent about it. They've openly admitted, it's coming from the Israeli war room, they openly admit that they have no intention of disarming or giving up power in Gaza. The two core requirements of the ceasefire deal accepted just a few days ago. Interview last night, the Hamas spokesperson declared the group will reject all Israeli demands related to weapons, saying, and I quote, "We will not be prisoners to Israeli terminology or demands. This will be a key focus in the next phase of our struggle." Qassam also signaled that Hamas plans to reinterpret the signed agreement on Gaza's governance, pushing for a governing body that aligns with its agenda and preserves its influence. Imagine that. That's what they want to do. They don't want to do anything else other than continue on with their jihad. So if you thought for some reason that Hamas was not going to abide by the ceasefire deal, you're absolutely correct. Absolutely 110% correct. Ryan Matthew, thank you very much for becoming a true supporter. Good to have you. First person signing up today. Awesome. Absolutely great. Now, I don't know how many times I heard from the Palestinian side of the house of how well the hostages were treated. No matter how many times I tell people that they have been tortured, that they have been, like, all of those things, everybody's like, no, they were treated perfectly well. Regardless of the skinny pictures and people digging their own graves and all of that crap. Regardless of all of that, people want to say now. Now we've got a hostage that has just been released that's meeting up with Netanyahu, and you guys are going to want to hear what this one has to say. Eating more. And this comes from what he's describing as a conversation between him and the head of Hamas's military wing. Listen to this.
למה הוא אמר את זה? כי ממילא אבא שלי לא יוצא להפגנות, אז נחזיר לו אותו ראשון. הייתה לו שיחה עם...
I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but they pretty much just said that the only reason they're going to be releasing him first is because his dad's not showing up to the protest. Now, there's two things that you could take away from that as a mental torture, which is one, your family doesn't care about you, your family forgot about you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And two, also attempting to encourage the other hostages and things like that. If their families are showing up to the protest, now they can be like, look, well, Eaton is getting out because his family wasn't showing up to the protest. Your family, on the other hand, is refusing to support the cause. So screw your family, screw you. We're just going to hold on to you. And that's besides making them dig their own graves. It's besides murdering Americans down in tunnels and everything else. Now, I want to point out this comment right here that somebody just came in. Excuse me. Ben Niver Hoover, I think. I don't know, man. If I messed your name up, I apologize. He says, "Thank you, Matt, for showing what you do for us. You show me things that everybody needs to see, but normal news won't show." Thanks, mate. Yeah, of course, man. That's particularly what I do so that you guys can get a handle on the situation and know where it's going. Because if I don't show you and I don't give you the information, you dang sure know you're not getting it from the mainstream media. And right now, if you look at the mainstream media, they're going to tell you that all of this is going swimmingly. Hamas is doing amazing things. They're giving up. We're going to have peace. Nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Nominate him. I'm about to show you another hostage. His name's Joshi. He wasn't a Jew. He wasn't Israeli. He was actually in Israel to get an education. He was Hindu, as a matter of fact. He got killed in captivity, in case you're not tracking. Hopefully he's one of the bodies that ends up coming out at some point in time. This man had absolutely no dog in the fight. None, zero, zilch. He was simply in Israel getting an education, celebrating at Nova, if I remember correct. This man right here that's up on your screen, murdered in captivity, probably blamed on Israel. Everybody's going to say that, me saying that is, that Palestinians are going to say that he was murdered by Israel is just Hasbra. No, that is their Hasbra. That is their lies. The man was killed in captivity by Hamas, just like the American Hersh Goldberg and the others that got killed in the tunnel with him that day down inside Rafah. Shot to death for whatever reason, because they're losing the fight. I don't know.
ارفع هذا لفوق هيك. It's a maybe Pindosi. I'm from Nepal. I'm 23 years old. I came into Israel 25 days ago. I came here for online loan program. I'm a student. I work in agricultural farm in Cyprus and lemon farm.
Really? A man that came to Israel to get an education, that's working as a farmer, that's what he gets. He gets kidnapped and murdered, just like everybody else. Just like the people inside Gaza you're about to see, because they get accused of siding with Israel, the enemy. But again, mainstream media, where are you at? Why aren't you showing this type of stuff? Why aren't you bringing this up? Because this is exactly what the people need to hear. Now, Hamas, they're refusing to disarm. This is what Trump had to say about it.
They're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Okay? Now, we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do. Above all else, get the hostages back. Now, they misrepresented because we were told they had 26, 24 of dead hostages, if we can use those terms. And it seems as though they don't have that because we're talking about a much lesser number.
So they lied. Hamas lied. I picked that statement like he's stating it politically. I'm just going to state it plain, clear, and simple. Hamas lied. Trump got lied to. He bought the lie. At least they released the living hostages that they had. But Hamas lied about the bodies. They're lying about disarming, and they lied about being okay with not being in power. Those are the three big lies that have came out of this. Now, let me ask you a question before I go back to playing Trump. If they lied about disarming, if they lied about the number of dead bodies they had, and they sure have lied about not wanting to be in control and being exiled or whatever the plan is for them, nobody knows, just FYI. What makes you think that there is going to be peace? That's not peace. If the U.S. president, after you sign a peace deal, has to come out and threaten to use force and then tells the world that the people he and his team negotiated with lied, what chance of peace do you think this thing actually has?
That's a very tough subject. I want them back. That's what they said. I want them back. Also, they said they were going to disarm. And initially speaking, they needed, they did take out a couple of gangs that were very bad, very, very bad gangs, and they did take them out, and they killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you. That's okay. We had a couple of very bad gangs. It's no different than other countries. Like Venezuela sent their gangs into us, and we took care of those gangs. We have Washington, D.C.
Why are you talking about this?
One of the safest cities in the country. It was one of the worst cities in the country if you go back just a little while ago, right? Now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently.
Quickly, violently, and we will disarm them if they do not. Funny, when he was negotiating with Putin, and Putin promised a bunch of things and then turned around and did the exact same thing that Hamas did by lying to his face, where was the threats? Where was informing Putin that this would happen? Greg, Big G says, you, sir, are like a modern day mashup of Art Bell, Rush Limbaugh, and Paul Harvey. Keep doing what you do. Love your videos and your lives. Thanks, Greg. So that's the question, right? This is the question that we all need to ask ourselves. If Trump feels he got lied to, and he knows that Hamas is no longer going to disarm, and he knows that they lied and all of these other things, they just released the hostages. Why? Because it looks good on the world stage. They're not stupid. They have been playing the propaganda game since day one. And if you don't believe me, go look in any major U.S. city that's flying the freaking Palestinian flag, that's wearing Hamas headbands like I showed you this morning. People flat out identifying as Hamas members by dress in nature here on American streets. And we can't do a dang thing about it because Biden had built America to a point where, God forbid, we arrest foreign terrorists on American soil. People that want to self-identify. People that scream death to America, death to Israel, call us the big Satan, all of those things. God forbid we actually take people that self-identify, throw their butt in Gitmo, and wait to trade them with somebody else, because ultimately that's what's going to happen. We're ultimately going to trade them for somebody else. But yeah, Trump now threatening physical violence. That's not a joke. Do you guys need to hear it again?
All right, now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? But we have told them we want to disarm. And they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes. You say
because
quickly.
you always, everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And
I told you. Everybody else that is familiar with this conflict told you they are going to lie. They are not going to go through with this peace deal. I pray it worked. I prayed that it stormed. I pray that they're going to go somewhere else. But we all knew that they were going to lie. They're allowed to do it to advance their agenda. Look up the word tequila if you don't believe me. And now Trump is threatening to disarm them. Meaning what? The U.S. is now going to start dropping bombs over there? No. The hostages are gone. Cut Israel loose. They can handle it.
I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm or we will disarm them. Got it?
They will disarm or we will disarm them. Who here actually believes that? Well, let's just go check out the poll that I put up with 500 votes that came in. Asked, will there be peace now in Gaza? 514, 20 of you guys are now voting like crazy now that I brought it up. 10% of you, for some reason, have faith that there's about to be peace in Gaza. The other 90% of you that actually follow this channel and understand what was going on, understand that there's not going to be peace. And that's not a strike on any of the 10% of you that are praying for peace or want there to be peace in Gaza now. And if you think for some reason there isn't peace or there is peace in Gaza right now, let me just introduce you to this. Just to be clear, this is not an old news article. This is October 14th by Reuters, which, again, I don't necessarily say that I believe Reuters, but Israel ended up withdrawing to a certain line. They're in certain populated areas, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But no, there's not going to be peace. As a matter of fact, there wasn't even peace today. There wasn't. Big Tev 305 says this is exactly why 200 U.S. boots are in Israel right now. They know Hamas has been lying. No, a lot of those go to like the aerial defense systems and things like that we have over there, foreign internal defense, different training, things like that are taking place. Not so that 200 U.S. boots can roll into Gaza, to be clear. 200 U.S. boots wouldn't do crap for the fight on the ground. There's likely over 10,000 Hamas fighters still inside Gaza. And I know that number sounds crazy for you guys to believe in an area, the city the size of Las Vegas, but yes, it's that bad. So they need to disarm. And those are my best estimates because Israel hasn't released an updated battle damage assessment on how many Hamas fighters have been killed since August of last year, to be clear. Pat Loudon says Hamas just got the majority of their citizen shields back. 1,900 more soldiers that Israel released, and Hamas just gave the alive hostages back. I feel like all hell is going to break loose. You're absolutely correct. It is going to break loose. And by the way, I also have dirt on who those people are that got released in case anybody, because here's the other thing that ticks me off. The other thing that ticks me off before I get back into this right here with why fire was opened up, it's because Hamas was maneuvering on the IDF. Plain and simple. Israel, you know what? I'll just knock that out real quick. Hamas was maneuvering on the IDF. IDF pulled back to an agreed upon line. There was a demilitarized zone essentially that nobody was supposed to enter into. And once you know it, Hamas tried maneuvering through the zone and attacking the Israeli forces, and they got killed. Local authorities report 6 killed. That's Hamas. The Gaza Health Ministry is ran by Hamas. If you don't believe me, ask ChatGPT or Grok or search it just widely on the internet. 1,000%, make no mistake about it. It is legit. Hamas runs the Gaza Health Ministry. So, you brought it up. Why not bring it up? Who are these people that they ended up releasing? It's an 8-minute video, and I don't agree in redoing things that have been done well. Liza Rosen ended up posting this from an account called Traveling Israel. And he did a really good job breaking down who these people are that actually got released.
Al Jazeera published an article titled, "Who are the Palestinian captives Israel released?" In their article, they criticize Israel, but they don't actually write who these Palestinians are. Since I'm a good person, and even though I'm a bit sick, I decided to help Al Jazeera. They are having trouble telling the truth, and I'm here to help.
I see the comment, Matt, may I ask you if you notice hostages released are just males? Yeah, Mary Dean, you can. That's because they killed all of the female hostages. FYI, in case nobody knew that, Hamas killed all of the female hostages. All of them. Whatever female hostages they were holding on to when they got done raping whatever. They murdered them. Their lives are worth less than that of a man, by the way. I believe it's 1/3.
Help. Let's begin. Israel will release Musa Tsufan, who murdered his mother because she married a Jew. Nabil Abu Hader, who murdered his sister because he suspected she worked for Israel, will be released as well. By the way, Sinwar, the Hamas leader who led the October 7th massacre, also sat in an Israeli prison. For what? For murdering Palestinians, political opponents, people he thought collaborated with Israel, or even someone who just looked at photos of naked women. His nickname among Palestinians was the Butcher of Khan Yunis.
I should probably also mention that there's also the possibility, because the bodies haven't been returned, that Hamas just took them as war brides and is lying, saying that they got killed somewhere. Meanwhile, they're trying to have them pump out babies to push forward their freaking radical ideological agenda. And these women are being tortured inside somebody's house, inside of a tunnel, locked up in a corner, whatever. That's also a possibility. To be quite honest, we don't know. But I just want to throw that out there. No females. They're all reported as dead, apparently.
These are the Palestinian heroes. Let's continue. The list is long. Ibrahim Alkam, the murderer of the Sur family in 1996, will be released. He fired 40 bullets at the mother and her son. Jihad Aziz Rahum, who kidnapped the 18-year-old Yuri Gushkin, will be released. Yuri worked in construction in Jerusalem with a group of Arabs. He thought they were his friends, so when they invited him to Ramallah, he agreed. Then one of them, Jihad, tortured him and murdered him. Ahmed Mahmoud will also be released. He followed 2 Israeli hikers in Wadi Kelt, Chagit and Liat, and then stabbed them to death. Raed Sheikh, a Palestinian policeman who participated in the lynching in Ramallah, will be released. Among the thousands of Arab terror attacks against Israelis and Jews in the land of Israel over the past 170 years, there are 2 events that have shaped my worldview more than anything else. The first is the massacre of the Jews in Hebron in 1929. It happened long before.
You guys get the idea, right? These aren't innocent people being held without charges that were released. These are people that have crossed the borders and conducted terror attacks, murdered people, dumped, like literally magged dumped on them. And here's something else that you don't know. When those people end up getting released, and this is true, feel free to look it up. They get to retain, thanks to the Palestinian Authority, the honorary title of prisoner. They get paid a stipend. Their families do, depending on how long they stay in jail. They get paid a stipend. And the longer they're there, the higher the stipend goes up to their family. And then when they get released, it keeps on. These people are literally treated like freaking heroes after they get released. And if you don't believe me that they're treated like heroes because of the culture and the way it goes about, let me just open this. I feel like I grabbed it. Maybe I didn't. I thought I grabbed a video of how they treat them when they get out, but they literally cheer them on. I had a video, I don't think I put it up, of like an entire convoy of these buses coming back into Gaza where everybody's standing on the side of the street cheering them on. It's absolutely ridiculous. But again, people want to tell you that the majority of Gaza doesn't support Hamas. This is a new video. I'm just saying.
يلا تخربوش هالمرة اوكي يلا
Just saying. It's not like the background's empty either. There's hundreds of people out there supporting them. Hundreds. Smokey Sergeant, there will never be peace. Peace with the non-believers is blasphemy. An unforgivable sin, according to Islam, peace to them is only afforded to other Muslims. That's what they mean when they refer to peace. No peace for infidels. Correct. And it doesn't matter how much you actually understand about this garbage. How much you understand about how ridiculous these people are, how murderous these people are, all of the disgusting things that they do. Yeah, and I'd like accountability of those women because there's chances, now that we talk about it, that they're war brides being held inside Gaza somewhere, continuously being raped and tortured. But Hamas says they're dead, right? Hamas says they're dead, so we should believe them. It's not like they would smuggle them out of the country, lock them in a basement, lock them inside of a tunnel, shoot them in the back of the head, rape them, murder them. After their bodies are dead, shove hard objects inside of their orifice, take pictures and blast it out on Telegram. It's not like anything like that's ever occurred. Has it? Let's continue making peace. Let's continue making peace. Maybe it's time for Trump to realize this and the Western society to realize this. And I think the same thing goes through with the Russia-Ukraine conflict as it does here inside of Gaza. That there is some people that you cannot reason with. When you have two quasi-established countries, India, Pakistan, sure. You can broker some type of a peace temporarily. By the way, that's just going to pop off again because of the amount of terror groups that are inside Pakistan. It's neither here nor there. But sure, you can get peace there. When it comes to a radical religious ideology like Hamas that wants to do absolutely nothing but murder everybody in order to accomplish what they believe is their divine right, which is taking over the entirety of Palestine from the river to the sea, all encompassing of Israel, and they can accomplish it by any means and methods, guess what? They're going to lie to you. They're going to murder people. They're going to kill. They're going to do all sorts of horrible things, and you are never going to reason with them. Ever. So now it's time for Trump to actually get off of his butt and put his money where his mouth is and physically help the Israelis disarm them. Patrick Loudon says this is why we don't negotiate with terrorists. And Patrick, sir, you are 1000% correct. And I believe in every word you just said, because you can't negotiate with somebody whose goal is to kill you and they're willing to get themselves killed, get their families. Like it's one thing to have somebody that is willing to accomplish their mission and give up their own life in order to do it. It is a completely other delusional mentality that they will allow their families, their children, their wives, anybody to be killed in order to accomplish that. Because guess what? They're martyrs. Cheers. Patrick, you're 100% correct. That's why you can't negotiate with them. Their ideology is that deep. You can never reason with that, which opens up the other question, which is what the heck do you do with them afterwards? What do you do with the people inside Gaza that have that mentality rooted into their brain? How do you even go about screening that mentality? How do you determine whether or not they're going to continue on with this radical ideological agenda? I promise you one thing, that even when this is over, even after Hamas gets wiped out, even after they try to stand up a good government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're still going to have sectarian violence. You're still going to have the radical Islamic ideology that's worse than ISIS, in my opinion, which is Hamas, try to ride on Israel and continue to kill people because they don't like them. They're not going to surrender. This was Sinwar's plan the entire time. Sinwar's plan the entire time was to get Israel to go in there and bomb the living crap out of them to the point where it looks like Israel's decimating. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the population in Gaza has actually jumped from 2.1 million to 2.4 million. I'll say that again. Estimated population in Gaza went from 2.1 million to 2.4 million in the last 2 years. They didn't get genocided. It didn't decrease. Nobody's trying to forcibly relocate anybody. No, ma'am. Islamic radicals are here in the USA. We need to focus on the USA. Pam, 100% correct. You need to go back and watch my stream from this morning when I pointed out people wearing Hamas headbands, self-identifying and actually making terroristic threats to journalists on the streets in the United States and nothing that gets done about it. And I'm not even talking about Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, all the big name terror organization that most Americans know. No, we actually have the same issue with domestic terrorists here in the United States of America. I just witnessed it. They don't even realize that they fit the definition of a terrorist. Antifa doesn't. They don't understand. They don't even know what the dang definition is. And they don't understand that what they're doing is actually domestic terrorism. By definition. We do have a terrorism problem here in the United States. A massive terrorism problem. We do. Massive, massive, massive issue. It's freaking disturbing. You want to know what it looks like over inside Gaza? You want to see what life is like for these people? You know what? Hell with it. If this video gets demonetized, so be it. Do those people at all appear to be upset about what's taking place? Or are they possibly cheering on Hamas? Just a thought. Look at the frickin' swing on that guy. That man is knocked out. Now, there's lots worse videos of this than this one that I can show you, where you literally see people's limbs being separated, broken in half, and all of that crap. Literally see it. Every single day, I've been seeing videos like that on my social media that are coming out of Gaza. Every single day. I want you to keep this video in the back of your mind. If any politician in the future suggests that any of these people belong in the United States of America, it's not coming to New York. It's not going to happen. These people, this mentality does not fit in American culture, and it doesn't fit in a Western culture. It's not done yet. I'm going to make you watch the whole thing. Do you get the idea yet? Anybody? Anybody grasping the gravity of the situation of the radical ideology that is within inside Gaza? Smokey Sergeant says, welcome to the forever war. When we came home, it was nothing more than a pause. I always knew this was going to have to be fought on the home front. I had hoped and prayed. I was wrong. You and me both, brother. Honestly. Why else would we fight for that long other than to keep it from American soil and to make sure that our children wouldn't have to fight the same dang enemies that we did? You know who screwed it up? Politicians. It's a fact. Castle survival. Matt, after the stream, please take a break and cool off. I can tell that after Gaza and Portland, you're about to lose it. Please don't snap. Stay focused, bro. I am not about to snap. I am trying to get the message across to people. We got a lot of new viewers tuning into the channel. We got a lot of new people subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of new true supporters, and I need to get this message across. I don't want this crap on American soil. I don't need this crap on American soil, and neither do you. I shared the video this morning, a man wearing a Hamas headband here in the United States making terroristic threats on the streets of the USA. Nobody cares. This is Hamas. This is what that man's supporting. Castle says, I respect the work you're doing, though. Much love, bro. Thanks. Appreciate it. Doing my best. DNB says, regarding the lasers in Portland, federal offense to point a laser at an aircraft, gives the 18 U.S. code, 5 years and $30,000 fine per offense. Also violates Washington state laws, RCW. Yep. Class B felony, just need a prosecutor with a spine. How about the people that organize that act of domestic terrorism that likely cost people their lives in the United States? Why? Because Life Flight got shut off from OHSU, but nobody cares because they're going after the evil feds for arresting these poor old illegal aliens, criminals here in the United States. And they're not going after grandma. Maybe a grandma has been arrested here or there, but by and large, that's not what they're going after. Go look at the amount of violent offenders that they have taken off the streets in the United States of America. Our borders, ladies and gentlemen, not even close to being secure. If you don't think this type of stuff that's up on your screen, it could be seen on the streets in America, you're wrong. Incog Faraday, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. What's going to take for you guys to wake up? In cities like Dearborn, where you have people shouting death to America on American soil, when you have stuff like that taking place, how long do you think it's going to be before some of this crap actually makes its way into America? How long do you think it's going to be before the first video of this stuff in the U.S. actually comes out of seeing people lined up like that getting their dang heads blown off because they side with ICE or they side with the federal laws or the Constitution because it doesn't fit Sharia? Absolutely insane. People want to side with them, though. They're wearing the Hamas headbands here in the USA. Incog Faraday gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships, followed by Chris Hincliffe gifting out another one. Pam, look up Red House, VA. There's a terrorist encampment that even the FBI won't enter. The FBI flew drones over and they shot them down. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. You'd think that we'd learn our lessons from past and previous events, but we haven't. Not even close. You guys want to know who's in charge of different places in Gaza? These are random militias that stood up. Told you guys there'd be a power struggle, and I wasn't kidding. Here is your power struggle right here. These people are now in charge of northern Gaza. Whether they're backed by the Israeli military, no idea. I know they spend a lot of time up there, but they're telling Hamas that if Hamas goes up there, they're going after them. That they'll kill them, they'll fight to the death. They own this area and told Hamas to stay the heck out. Weird, they got a bunch of brand new AKs, solid black uniforms, plate carriers, things like that, have their faces covered. They have a spokesperson. And look at the body armor that guy's wearing sitting right there in the middle. Does that look familiar? That color look familiar to anybody that's sitting over here? Likely. Now, remember how I told you months ago, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Months ago, I told you up over inside of northern Gaza that the Israeli Defense Force was going around asking people who wanted to fight for them. This was when all those protests were going on that everybody said, nope, that's not real. It was real. And I told you that this is what's going to happen. Now, these people are going to be the police force up there. I have no idea who this gentleman is. I know nothing about his organization. But there is a pretty strong chance, just based on the hardware that they have, not saying anything about his green plate carrier that may or may not look like it could be issued by the IDF at some point. But there's a pretty strong opinion that these people are the ones that got built up. Now, remember that radical ideology I showed you about with people swinging their sticks back and forth and all that other stuff? These people, hopefully, are still being supervised up there in that area. Who knows? Tom Too Tall came in giving out 10 Speak the Truth memberships. Thank you very much, sir. Greatly, greatly appreciate you. Let me go back over there and get that viewer activity back open up so I can keep going through some of these. Castle Survival says, don't forget what's happening in the UK with little helpers tattling on you for disagreeing with government or being anti-immigration. Don't let it happen in the USA. That was literally the entire purpose of this morning's show. Showing what took place in the UK, showing what's taking place inside the United States of America, and showing you how you were literally one tiny step away from being... Stop it. I didn't tell you to talk, man. You recorded the video so that I can tell you when to talk. One tiny step away. One tiny step away from the United States being just like the UK. It's not going to take very much. It's sad, disgusting. I don't even know. Hugus Sean, I totally butchered your name, brother, but he says, Matt, keep doing you. Sometimes the truth takes a lot of stress and pissed off moment to get it out to the people. Even now, more than ever. Yeah, I agree. And I hope you guys are listening to everything that I'm saying, the words that are coming out of my mouth, how I'm sharing this information with you so that you are armed with information. If you are brand new to this channel, that is the entire purpose, to actually provide you with information. I'm going to state my opinions. If I have an opinion, and I got strong ones against radical Islam, believe me, after the global war on terror and seeing these things firsthand, believe me, after seeing unredacted October 7th videos, believe me, I have very strong opinions on radical Islam. I have no problem telling you that. I have no problem stating it. And guess who else doesn't? Muslims who also fought beside me during the global war on terror, fought people like ISIS, have absolutely no problem calling out radical Islam. But for some reason, when I do it as a white man, which, by the way, I'm also African American, for those of you guys that don't know, I have the DNA genealogy to prove it, just in case you want to see it. Not that that matters to anybody. I'm also from the Levant, if that matters to anybody, bloodline-wise. God forbid we call it out. God forbid we show you guys what's actually taking place and happening, and they try to silence us, and they're going to come after us. I wouldn't be surprised if I now have another organization that comes after me and tries to sue me for sharing you guys with all of this information. It's preposterous. It's asinine. Blows my mind every single time. Sharia law that they want here in the United States of America, this is how brainwashed people are. Now, I don't believe this lady is in the United States. She might be from the UK. I don't know, but I want you guys to listen to this video. And I might pause it from time to time and elaborate on Sharia law. Just maybe.
Muslims want to bring Shia law to the United States.
Do you even know what Sharia law is?
Oh, yeah. Me and this guy, we know about Sharia.
I do. Let's take a look.
Feeding the poor, that's Sharia.
Owning women as sexual property, that's
owning women as sexual property. Now, he's not lying. This actually comes down to the war brides and everything else. And those who guard their private parts except from their wives or those their right hands possess, for indeed they will not be blamed. That's from the Quran 23:5-6. We used to distribute the female captives as booty, and we use them to have sexual relations with. That's Sahih al-Bukhari, by the way, which was one of the how do you want to say, one of the higher up surahs that people can actually go to. Sharia law is nothing more than a combination of all of these things that are stated throughout either the Quran or the surahs. It's absolutely preposterous that people think these things don't exist. Now, there is a huge divide on what Sharia is. This is one example. Don says, Matt, did you ever speak with Mr. Tusi in England? You're lying to the American version of him. Laugh out loud. You two, tell it like it is. Thank you. Doing my absolute best. At least I don't have to worry about getting arrested. Just sued.
property, that's Sharia.
Smiling at someone, that's Sharia.
Jihadism and fighting non-Muslims, that's Sharia.
Yep, he didn't lie. Let's go back and take a look at that one. Quran 9:5. When the sacred months are over, slay the idolaters wherever you find them. Seize them, besiege them, and lay and wait for them in every ambush. Now, that is something that they love to take out of context and use to justify murdering people. Let's drive on.
That's Sharia.
Being kind to your neighbor.
Unaliving homosexuals.
He's not lying. They've been thrown off rooftops inside Gaza. There was actually a commander from the Al-Qassam brigades, which is Hamas's militant wing inside Gaza, that got executed just like that publicly because it was found out and he was tried at a Sharia-style court inside Gaza, and they murdered him because he was gay. If you find anyone doing as lots of people did, kill the one who does it and the one whom it is done. That's the Dawood 4462.
Sexuals.
Education for every child.
Women being...
Yeah, except for women. Except for young girls. They don't deserve it. One of my proudest moments of serving in the global war on terrorism was opening an all-girls school. Reopening an all-girls school, Paktika province, Afghanistan, was one of the proudest moments that I ever had. And do you think the people were upset that we did that? No, they were excited. You know what we did? We celebrated. We stayed up all night, flew in musical instruments from Ghazni, drank milk chai, and celebrated like we were like Ferris Bueller's Day Off out there. Or not even that, man. What's the name of that other guy from? Yeah, we celebrated all night because of it.
Worth half as much as a man.
Women's right to work.
Women's right to be beaten by their husbands and to be...
Yep, that's true. That's absolutely true. That's a part of it too. Women basically got to do the deed with their husbands, and husbands can beat them. But it's an act of love when you listen to the imams that preach it. It's an act of love to keep them in line like that. Now, even though Sharia is not legal here in the United States, I'd ask you this question. Like, how many times do you think that particular verse is being used here in the United States to beat your women? How many women in the United States of America do you think get domestic violence conducted on a daily, monthly, weekly, annual basis because of this particular line right here? How many?
Forsaken in bed.
Marriage must be between two consenting adults.
Unless, of course, it's your prophet.
The Prophet Muhammad's third wife, I'll say that again. The Prophet Muhammad's third wife, Aisha, was 6 years old when he married her and 9 years old when they consummated the marriage. If you go over to countries like Iraq, they were actually pushing for exactly that and passed legislation. Over inside of Afghanistan, guess what they're doing? They're selling young women as brides. And when I say women, it's not even accurate. 5-year-old, 10-year-old girls, young ones crying, reaching out, not wanting to be given away. Covered in makeup, snuggling with freaking grown men. I showed you guys a video the other day on this podcast. It wasn't the other day. It was probably like a month ago, of some young girl being given an engagement ring. She had to have been like 10 years old, 12 years old. And this creeper dude's walking over, giving her a ring in ice cream, celebrating, going in for a hug and a kiss. Again, no place in American society. Vinicake says, this lady is Lily J on YouTube. Great. Now you guys know where to go. If she's pushing that crap, have fun.
Muhammad, police be upon him because he married a 6-year-old.
Workers' right to fair pay.
Unless, of course, you aren't a Muslim.
And he ain't lying. And here's something else that they're not going to tell you about the jizya when they come and they take over. You're people of the book is what they like to tell you. You're people of the book. But it's okay. It's okay because if you're people of the book, you'll have protection. All you got to do is pay the jizya. But what they don't tell you is that those extreme versions of Islam that want you to pay the jizya, guess what? You got to pay it in gold and silver. Anybody else got a stack of gold and silver to pay the radical Islamists when they take over? Otherwise, you die. And by the way, if you're married, your wife, she just gets converted over to Islam. And if she's not going to convert, well, then she's still a war bride. They're going to rape and pump out babies. Facts. Ask me how I know. Ask me these stories that I heard coming out of ISIS villages. Ask me. And it's funny that Mercado Media has the goal to come over and stream my stuff when that piece of garbage didn't even have the goal to come over and say a word to me in Portland. Hey, by the way, Mercado, now that your media and your people are watching this, I'm just going to let you know That when you stood there and you said it wasn't a war zone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, when you stood there and you took that video on day one showing yourself around, why don't you tell people how you dressed in all black with body armor and a helmet that very evening out on the streets? Why did you show people pictures of you doing that? Probably not, because you're a lying pile of garbage.
Because then you will be taxed into poverty.
The current court system is derived from Sharia.
No, it's not. It's derived from the Roman court system, which came hundreds of years before.
Democracy is Sharia.
No, it actually came from Democritus, a Greek philosopher who came 1,000 years before. Democracy, Democritus, see how we got that name?
Hospitals have been built on Sharia law.
Okay, but the Catholic Church has built way more hospitals, and St. Basil the Great is often credited as building the first hospital. So why on earth would we choose Sharia law over Christianity?
We're already living under Sharia law.
No, we are not, because our women are allowed to go outside without covering themselves head to toe.
So what exactly are you fearing?
Let's see. Sharia law and the loss of Western culture. By the way, Muhammad is now the most common boy's name in England and Wales. God bless.
Can't even argue with the last 30 seconds of that man's video. Dude absolutely crushed it. Absolutely crush it. But there's so much more that goes to Sharia. There was 2 years ago when this conflict had first kicked off, Rob and I were talking about it, and I ended up pulling up a bunch of the different laws for Sharia that you're never going to find them being commonly agreed upon, by the way, because there's debate over what should and shouldn't be a part of there. But I read off a bunch of them. And people tried to demonetize the video. They tried to get it taken down. They came after the channel. But the problem is everything that we said was the absolute truth. I think I even put it up over on my IG as well. It's disgusting that people are rooting for Hamas, that people are rooting for Palestine, that people will tell you that there's not a problem here in Portland while they go and they put on their little helmet and their body armor and hide behind a camera because they don't have the balls to show you what's actually going on. God forbid. The man didn't even have the balls to talk to me wearing his helmet and his body armor. He hid behind his camera off to the side. And again, I'm done giving attention to that pile of garbage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem here in the United States of America, and it's going to be a huge problem. If you think there's going to be peace in Gaza, you've lost a nut. It's not going to happen. Now, maybe Trump will give a bunch of bombs. Maybe he'll threaten them. Maybe he'll do something. But the fact is, we don't know whether those bodies that are unaccounted for are technically alive or dead. We have no clue. But what we do know is that they're not all accounted for, and they're not turning them over. They're refusing to disarm, and they're stating that they are going to take part in the government, which is directly against the peace plan. If you think there is going to be peace in Gaza, you have been lied to. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank every single living one of you that came in and contributed tonight. Every single person that signed up to be a true supporter. Thank you guys very much. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace, love, happiness.